you're up there.
Yeah, we should probably edit most of this out.
Okay. All right. All right. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another one of those. We're talking about the RPF old days. Soup used to taste better than it does now, etc. Today we have Chris Reiff again, part 2. So much Chris and so much was derailed last time that we only got to like 1990 or 8 or 9. So we're going to pick up where we left off, and it's probably a little more exciting because there will be more RPF in it. And certainly a lot of great stories, I am sure. It's my guarantee to you. I am joined by Matt Munson and Brian Babich. And we're going to take a second to plug our social medias. So Matt, you're up.
Hey there, Matt Munson here. You can find me at The Project Workbench on Instagram and YouTube.
Okay, Brian, you're up.
Brian Babich, and you can find me on Babich Builds on Instagram, which it's really kind of barren at the moment.
No, it's highly recommended. That Ghostbuster stuff is exciting and inspirational.
Brian's very new to the scene, so there's not a ton of content yet. Okay, and you guys know where to find my stupid face. And so we'll push it over to Chris, and he can tell you a social media thing if he wants to, and if not, let's pick up where we left off.
Well, I guess you could still probably find me on MySpace somewhere.
Yes. Friendster. Find me on Friendster, guys.
Yes, there you go.
I have a blog on Zanga, but
I'm still his best friend.
My
that old website
is still
with
up.
The construction lights blinking on it is probably still up somewhere in the cloud.
Some
Live
people...
journal. You got a live journal anywhere that we can?
Yeah.
No, never any of that. But
did a little spring cleaning, found my Angel Fire page, you know.
Yes.
Nice. Angel Fire.
Your Lord of the Rings
cities.
Lord of the Rings.net fan site. Fantastic.
Concentric website. Yeah.
Okay, good. Confirmed. We're all old. Great. Good work.
Oh, yeah.
So where we started parts of Star Wars was on Concentric, I think. But,
wow.
Yeah.
See, that's what you should pitch right there. Go visit the parts of Star Wars.
Yeah.
Oh, there you go. Well, yeah, all over Facebook, we're there now. Mostly
Chris,
mostly Travis doing things, and then me whispering in his ear. But
Chris, stop me if you covered this last video. I don't remember the details. Did you talk about like what motivated you to start parts of Star Wars? Like how did that? I remember hearing the actual actions of it ramping up. But like, were you just sitting around one day and like, I wonder what that's made of? I'd like to write that down.
Well, it started with Travis and I kind of connecting through the news groups, and then kind of building up this database of stuff in our heads and being fearful of losing the database.
Was it literally in your heads, or was there any sort of recorded?
I think we maybe had some Word docs or an email chain or something back and forth, but it got to the point where we just wanted to kind of keep track of it for ourselves. So we were storing it mostly just like random pictures and folders on a site that we shared. But then both of us being illustrators, designers, we wanted to do something with it. So we created a horrible little frames-based website, and it still exists out there somewhere. But
it's a signature look, though. The grid, the green grid with the black background,
iconic.
They're still everywhere.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, the little Scomp link. I spent so many hours making the little Scomp link email link in the corner that was animated GIF thing.
Right.
You still have a view counter on your page by chance? Like
oh my God, I don't know. I hope not.
View counters. I forgot how important that crap was. Yeah. It was like 600 views. I'm gonna be rich.
You have a guest page where you can sign in when you visit. That's good. There's some powerful features.
We dabbled in the forum thing early on at one point, but I think we trashed that fairly quickly. Like Brandon and the RPF were just like zooming away from everybody.
Yeah.
Coming into place, and we were spending our time on the RPF. So, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if we touch on this enough, but the RPF was really like hot shit technology wise. Like as far as like we've lost perspective of this, I think, a little bit, but the forums, when they kind of congealed and became they're taken for granted now, I would imagine, but like the fact that you could have subforums and a thread and nest and not have to clink Clink, not have to click every link. Clink is a quick and cool.
Link a link. That's right.
Yeah. That's what we used to call it.
Right. Yeah. Back in the day. But like that you could have photographs in line with all the text and not have to like wait for something to download. Like it always drove me nuts.
You could post photos. Like
right.
It was the news groups and it was, hey, here, I'll send you an email with a picture.
Yeah. Yeah. And even like well into the 2000s, I don't even know if they're still like that, but Starship Modeler, it was forbidden to post a photo. You had to post a link to the photo off-site because they were so concerned.
Storage space.
Load speeds or what?
I think it was load speeds. I think they like 90% of the Star Trek resin guys were on DSL in a mountain in like Georgia or some shit. Or I don't even know if there's a mountain.
Some bullshit state. Yeah.
Yeah. So one of them damn bullshit. No,
they were really worried about everybody's caching is what they were worried about. Oh, got to clear the cache.
Yeah.
That's wild. You know, I remember
defrag the hard drive.
Oh no, my hard drive's full. I remember when we switched over, I don't know if it was custom code, but like, you remember like Runboard was like that free to use service for message boards. And it's like, you know, it's got a bunch of super dumb features, it's filled with ads and nonsense, and it sort of looks like a GeoCities page. Like there's some forums out there today that still use like those free to use software. And when you go to the RPF, it's not a terrible experience. Like I don't know if they're running. I know they're running customized code, but I don't know if their original code base is all original or if they took it from somewhere. But to me, it's a much smoother experience than the average sort of off the shelf format software.
Forum software. Yeah, and do you pay? I'm a premium member, so I pay the. I don't know. It's probably 30 something bucks a year now. It just comes out of PayPal, and when it happens, I'm like, yeah, I hate ads. Cool, you know, because I've if I log on a new computer or if I restart whatever, you know, cookies or whatever that shit is, where you lose your login and you go back in and there's just ads everywhere, and I'm like, not today, Satan. And you know, I quickly put my stuff back in because it gets pretty.
There was a big scandal a while ago. When the RPF, a while ago, this is probably 20 years ago, when the RPF first switched over to some format and they started really flooding the Google ads, there was a big discussion about premium membership versus a free ad blocker. And it sort of got divided squarely in half. People were like, why would I pay for something that's already free when an ad blocker can remove 90% of the ads? And the other camp was like, well, if you're using it, you should pay for it. And, you know, the ads help pay for it. Don't you enjoy the service? Don't be such a jerk. And it was quite exciting because I think, as I often do, I sort of saw and appreciated both sides of that argument and had a hard time picking which one was best.
Well, we talked about it last time too, where I think some people kind of lose perspective that some members of the RPF and just the prop world in general are scraping for pennies to build props that are passionate to them. So coming up with money to pay for something that, if they can tolerate some ads, is free, which thankfully that still exists, that there is a free version to go share those ideas, which is critical to it, I think.
Now I feel like a total ass.
Well, you know,
it won't be the first time like in this talk like that I feel like an ass, so it's fine. Yeah. No.
Everyone's got to pay the price.
Yeah.
So let me ask you guys a question, then I'll be quiet for a bit, I promise. So I've told people sometimes that this is a hard hobby to do on a budget. Agree or disagree?
It's easier on a budget now, I think, with 3D printers.
Yeah, 100%. That is an excellent point. It is very hard to do on a budget if you're
messed up like us.
If you're if you are ambitious. Okay, so when I'll try to keep this as quick as possible. You guys have like 6 hours, right? When I first started, I had this fire in me to like make things, but I also had a lot to prove to myself, and I had a lot to prove to others. Like it wasn't like I wanted to be the best, and it wasn't like I want to destroy. It wasn't competitive. It was just, I want to know that I'm getting better, and I want hopefully to like make some magic happen in the scene. I thought that would be really cool and gratifying. And it wasn't an ego thing so much as I just wanted to like further this scene, helped further this scene that I was so passionate about, and seeing it grow over the years and participating in it constantly. I think we all have, which is pretty amazing. But when I started, I was certainly working with less capital than I am now, and I this might seg nicely into some professional work talk with Chris today, but like it's that capitalistic, you gotta pay your dues thing where you do a lot of stuff for free or for spec or for a unpainted prototype or something. And I've ruined my hands, I mean, honestly. And I think about all those days and nights that I worked myself to the bone to make this stuff for like pennies. Like for a while at the beginning, I would build somebody a kit of something if they just bought me a kit. And I think about that now and I'm like,
damn, that's a good deal. Can I get in on that? Is that still on offer?
So dumb. But I didn't have $700 to buy a Y-Wing, or whatever. Even back then they were 500, I think, but like that was so much money. There's no way I could do that. And if some collector wanted one, I try to like make peace with it now. Like, well, at least it was practice and I've certainly have gotten better. But at a certain point, you realize, how am I going to charge more? Because this is the bar I've set. And then you work harder and you get a better reputation. You can charge more for work you're doing. And then the new guns come in under you and they're doing what you did and quote undercutting you. And it can be really cutthroat really quickly as soon as money is involved. But yeah, overall, it is an grossly expensive hobby to get into and experience if you don't have the right perspective. Because again, there's those Philip Wises out there that have like, a bourbon vault and like all this incredible stuff. And you're like, you see enough of that on the forum from enough different people, it normalizes it. Like, well, why is my basement not completely converted into an armory from
That's right. Space? That's right, you loser. That's right. You gotta aim for the Philip Wise level. If you don't have a dedicated building to your stuff,
you don't have a Batmobile in your garage
or two. Yeah, exactly. Thank you, Chris.
Yeah.
You need 20,000 square feet. But the thing that you brought up, I think, is critical is perspective, right? And I think there's a lot of people who are trying to keep up with the Joneses, and they get really carried away
for sure
with what other people are doing and get caught up in their world and what Philip Wise or other people like him can afford. They lose that grounding that, oh my gosh, I don't have to be there yet. Matt, when you and I met, I was I got into paper props. That was the way to reduce the barrier of entry. I was a poor college student, and so Illustrator I got like free for an education discount on my computer, and I just sat there and fucked away on the computer for hours creating things that I could print out in the dorm computer lab and stuff like that. Or go to Kinko's and spend $2 and print something out back in the day, at 2:00 in the morning, because I didn't want anyone seeing what I was making.
Yeah. And to your credit, you became king of the paper props. Like that
I was the paper prop guy for a while, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But I also see this happening on Facebook, though. There's websites, there's collectible driven or centric websites that I've been drafted into somehow, and I see them because they're in my feed, and like RS Prop Masters will come out with a helmet, and now they're getting savvy and they'll do there's a collectible group on Facebook, I think, called the Hyperdrive, and there was an exclusive, like some prototype snowtrooper helmet. I think it was that one. But like it's the FOMO and the keeping up with the Joneses. Like suddenly, like I think like I feel like half of the guys buying every single helmet out there right now are doing it reflexively. Yeah. Almost like, do you really love every single character and every single helmet? And there is, I have enough memory from when I collected a lot of things. If there's a variant and I don't have it and I'm that far down the road, I have to have that.
Right.
Like,
right.
How can I not? I've got the action figure where his hands like this, but I need the action figure where his hands like that. It keeps me up at night, ridiculous.
I wonder how much of that is like our susceptibility as humans to marketing, or like I'm curious about the psychological components there. But I think you're absolutely right. I fell into it with lightsabers. Like back when episode 1 came out, I was like buying any lightsaber that Larbell made.
Yes.
Because I thought it looked cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I want it. And I'm like, I hate Qui-Gon Jinn, but I need that lightsaber.
Yeah.
And that was sort of a good experience for me, because after I traded a bunch of them for some other stuff. And I kind of had this moment where I was like, I never really wanted those sabers. I didn't, I don't really like with the Luke Skywalker New Hope saber. I wanted that when I was a kid. The Obi-Wan saber, I wanted it. I love it. But all those other sabers, they were just sabers that I had to have. And it seems like it's a weird trap. And I'm curious, Chris, do you have like airplanes that you bought because you had to have it? Or like
just one.
Does that trap?
Well, I guess there's all these miniatures up here. So, but that's a whole other different thing.
Is it though? Okay, wait, let me throw a hypothesis at you. Hobbies are all the same.
No, they're totally all the same for me.
Okay, good. Thank you.
They're just varying levels of commitment and price.
They're all the same.
Yeah.
Hobbies are 100% all the same. In the late 90s and early 2000s, I worked as a production artist for an auction house that specializes in antique bisque dolls from the turn of the century, before the Great War ruined it all. So if I'm ever in a dusty attic in France, I could probably find a $30,000 Bébé Jumeau or Bru doll. Like, I know the difference between all these damn things, but it is the same. It's just they were 80-something-year-old ladies, and when they died, there would be competing auction people that would swoop into the surviving 60-year-old child who'd be like, I could give you 15 grand for the whole lot, and then flip it for like 300 or something. It is a tale as old as time. Beanie Babies, Star Wars shit, Bébé Jumeaus, classic cars. Yeah.
My favorite part about that formula is it is the same for personalities. Like a hobby I used to have, and I'm not kidding, like I would just sort of pick some weird hobby, and then I'd find a discussion forum for it, and then I just sort of breeze through a few threads. All the same personalities are there too. Like, if you pick like your 10 sort of iconic personalities off the RPF and go to any other forum, those same personalities are there. It's bizarre and weird.
Yeah, that's awesome and super depressing. Like simultaneously.
I feel like Harry Seldon was onto something when he did his psychohistory. We are very predictable as people.
Well, if this prop thing doesn't work out, we can always move over to dolls.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Or scrapbooking.
Yeah, scrapbooking. So, Chris,
yes.
You we're now like in the, let's say, early 2000s. What are you doing professionally at this point?
I was working for a toy design consultancy. So
a lot of former Kenner people, right?
Yeah, the guys that did the original Star Wars toys. So Jim Swearingen, Tim Effler, Tom Osborne, those
Chris,
two guys.
give me some background there. Like, why? Like, I've known dudes who do that also. Why don't toy companies just have in-house designers? Why are they always why are they working with contractors or contract firms? Why not just do it in-house?
They do.
Oh.
Matt.
Sometimes there's not enough bandwidth internally to handle everything. So outside resources and people that are very specialized or very diverse in things. It kind of depends. The guys I was working for had all left Kenner and formed this smaller company, and we're doing work beyond the scope of what Kenner was doing. So they wanted to do invention work and sell ideas back into other companies and kind of do a bunch of different things that, as a designer in the toy company, they weren't able to do at the time. So, and then I showed up and worked there for a decade. So,
wow.
Did you have a specialization?
Not really. I think my strength is as a generalist. So I'm a skill collector, I guess, in a lot of ways. But it lends itself, I feel like, I went to school for art and kind of created an illustration program for myself. But didn't know about industrial design, which is how most toy designers end up in the business. And when I fell into this job, and I quite literally fell into it, I kind of discovered this whole world of industrial design. And I'd always been, well, do I want to become a doctor or an engineer or an artist? Like I was kind of in this weird, like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I guess we'll do this because it's fun. And at one point I was thinking about medical illustration, and like sculpting replacement noses and ears for people and all sorts of craziness. But the toy design thing just spoke to me in so many ways, because it wasn't ever the same job twice. I mean, sometimes it was designing like kids snorkel masks, and some days it was strawberry shortcake kind of dolls, and other days it was gorillas in space. So
do you have, is there one project in particular that we might recognize or that you loved, or is it like NDA stuff that you cannot?
Well, the first one, my first Star Wars project, was the mini replica helmets from Riddell.
Oh, okay. That's cool.
96, I think, when I pitched that.
So you're literally the one responsible for what is now canon, with those little square pads on the insides of the helmets and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which is carried over to this day, right?
Interesting.
Yeah, it's really fun. The Stormtrooper helmet and the Boba Fett helmet, all that stuff. The interiors obviously didn't exist for the movies back in the day, and we, at the time, our company, we were working with Riddell and doing like sports collectible stuff, other things to do with little helmets and whatever else. They asked for other ideas, and I mocked up this crazy little Darth Vader helmet out of a NASCAR helmet and styrene, and built this weird little monkey face given Darth Vader helmet thing. Showed it to them as a miniature. They loved it. And it was in the days when Star Wars was kind of ramping back up. Kenner had re-released toys again. They were talking about movies coming back out or being re-released, the special editions. So in late 95, early 96, I pitched that and we started working on those things.
Man, was that long ago? Jeez.
Yeah, and then the special editions came out in 97. And 97 is when I started making the rounds, which is kind of where we left off last time. But
okay,
it was those helmets that were that, and designing the interiors of those helmets was a big part of that job, and kind of making that up. And now the interiors of the Stormtrooper helmets are in Clone Wars and Rebels, and it's
crazy
fun to see that stuff.
So you're getting a royalty check for like 3 pennies every time that happens.
Don't we all?
Man is rich, Jason. Yeah, come out.
Yeah. So he comes from old helmet money.
That's right.
Yes. So have you ever? We'll get back to the sequential Chris career in a sec. Have you ever done work on spec or for not necessarily exposure, but did you ever have to sort of, because you truly loved a subject matter or wanted to get further into that stream, done stuff for near free or what you would consider, poverty wages or something?
No, not really.
Well, good for you.
La-dee-da. Drop the call, Jason.
That's absolutely kind of amazing, to be honest. That's really great to hear.
I mean, the work I ended up doing in the product design world, like that was all paying the bills and kind of focused there. That led to illustration work and relationships with folks at Lucasfilm, and that, like, it stayed kind of professional that way. There was hobby work. I mean, the R2D2 back here behind me.
I see.
I was working with friends on an app company that we were developing apps and doing that stuff kind of on the side. This is after the toy design thing had died off, and it was freelance doing that. And we were sitting there, and a friend had his R2 in the living room, and I kept looking at it, and I kept critiquing things that were wrong with it. And every time I did, he'd look at me and go, "Well, where's yours?"
Typical builder response. Yep.
Yeah, I pointed out enough things that were wrong that eventually he gave in, and I started doing new CAD and redid all the CAD for R2 for the Builders Club, and we built prototypes off the new CAD. So, and kind of so I mean, that was essentially free because I gave all that CAD work back to the club.
Right.
Wait, timing wise, does that make you the father of like the CSR series? Is that you?
CSR is me.
Oh, is that what the R stands for?
No, it's just a nice happenstance. But
I did not know. Man,
yeah.
Thank you for your service, sir.
Yeah.
I did not know that. That's amazing.
Club spec revisited is what the R is. But I mean, if you want to call it Reiff, that's just
it's in my mind. That's what it is.
That's so cool.
That's amazing.
I mean, that eventually led to other stuff because I knew R2 inside and out, and that led to Disney work and everything else. So,
but over the years, you and I have commiserated on certain work for outside vendors that held a license that you would then do a bunch of work and then just not get eventually paid.
Oh yeah, but I didn't go into that relationship thinking I wasn't going to get paid.
Right.
Yeah, no, I was getting paid and then stopped getting paid.
Right. Yeah. So that's that's something that no one ever really talks about. Well, at least publicly. I know every time we get together or something, somebody goes like, that mother effer at name of company, and then there will be like two other guys in the room who will like stop and look over and go like, you too, huh? And then you all like get together and you're like, ah. And a lot of the times it's because the company like folds because the steam just runs out or whatever. But it just, I don't think it's ever going to stop happening.
Well, by the way, like,
not.
What's the statistic? Like 90% of all small businesses go out of business in the first 3 years, but due to 1 million factors, some of which are, the person's a jerk. So it's not always you got ripped off. It's just the company model just didn't work out.
Well, and collectibles are so mercurial and subject to world wars or like stock markets and all
the whims of man.
Housing markets. And Salzo and I have talked about this a million times. He's like, you ever see anybody go to a Laurel and Hardy convention? No, it's because they're all dead and we're all gonna die and no one's gonna want our shit anymore. Which is not.
There's some Salzo optimism right there.
Right. Well, and I agree with him, except, we felt that way in 2006. Because we're like, Star Wars is dead again.
Well, Laurel and Hardy never made the multi-generational jump. Like
right. And Star Wars,
the kids of Laurel and Hardy fans didn't become Laurel and Hardy 2 fans.
Like if there was fresh Laurel and Hardy content today, it might be a different story.
Yeah, Laurel and Hardy on the Cartoon Network, keeping it alive. But it just now. I would say, like, if I was asked that question, to be like, no, Star Wars, not in my lifetime. I don't think Star Wars will run out of steam or die.
For sure. Agreed.
The story.
Well, Disney won't allow it.
Well,
that's right.
Yeah. Well, and also like sometimes like the people who get like pissed off about its wokeness or, the content, I'm like, maybe that Star Wars is for someone that's not you.
Don't watch it. That's fine.
I mean, like, I understand that times change and that media changes and people want different things out of different things. There was like that whole era of everything in a Transformer type movie looked like a bag of broken glass being shaken in front of the screen, and I'm like, I don't know what's going on, and I just stopped watching them. And like I watched like 2 or 3 Marvel movies, no offense to Marvel people, but I was like, this is the same goddamn shit every movie, just with different colored tights. And okay, they're gonna destroy the fucking city for 25 minutes and then the end. And I haven't seen a Marvel movie in like over 10 years, which really infuriates and fascinates people. But like, shit changes. But Star Wars, like won't go away. It's incredible. Like, thank God. I mean, because it's to me endlessly mineable and fascinating.
Well, I think it's strange too, just how pervasive it is.
Yeah.
Just awareness wise, I'm constantly surprised when I meet someone who hasn't seen a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
So exceptionally rare.
Yeah.
And I went to the dentist this past week, and the hygienist who I was working with, she had never seen a Star Wars movie. And
no one ever tried to force her. That's what's amazing to me, because I feel like these people exist up until a point, and then somebody's like, just watch one, and then
we're doing it this weekend.
Yeah. Like, I like my wife. Maybe she still hasn't seen
the Clockwork Orange glasses, climbing in a chair.
Yeah. Lisa did watch Titanic during the pandemic, but for the longest time, my wife hadn't seen Titanic, and she's like, "I'm the only woman in America, and I'm not about to start." She's like, You know, that's like, it's just a thing now.
Do you
And
guys
now
remember?
she has the little necklace.
Yeah,
That's right. That's right.
She's such a fan. Yeah, no.
Do you remember those dark years after Jedi, before Rise of the whatever the Timothy Zahn books were?
Yeah.
Like that was the shame years.
Well,
Yeah.
I'm 48, so it also like coincided with puberty and playing guitar and like just, you know, the things of childhood melting away. We didn't have like, if you had action figures like on a shelf in your bedroom,
big trouble
in the late 80s, early 90s, you were a weirdo. Like that shit has been so normalized now. But I have a weird vivid memory of being at some toy store in the Annapolis Mall and seeing 8D8 in a bargain bin, like for like, you know, like pennies or, you know, a couple bucks or whatever. And I remember looking at it thinking like, God, that's a cool droid. I liked him in the movie. I kind of want this, but yeah, toys are for baby, you know, like I was just like, eh. And, you know, like now it's probably, I don't know, that's one of the
now worth $20,000.
Yeah. But like it had the coin. I do remember the coin because I was like, oh, that's cute. They're doing that now.
Power of the Force, baby.
Yeah. And like, but yeah, Star Wars was dead. I dated a girl in.
Hold on a second though. Battle for Endor didn't like reinvigorate your love for Star Wars.
Wilford Brimley saved the franchise.
Yeah. I guess it was. Yeah.
Yeah.
Caravan of Courage, Battle for Endor.
Yeah. Oof. Yeah.
Wilford Brimley wasn't the action hero you were looking for or something.
Those are, I watched those a couple
Jason
years
wasn't
ago.
looking for that action hero, but 48-year-old Chris certainly is.
I dated this woman in 92 or 93, and she was like 4 years older than me, so it was super exciting. You know, she was out of college, but she had a Princess Leia action figure like necklace that she had made like when I first met her, and I was just like, holy shit, the balls, you know, to do that publicly. That was just so cool. That was cool.
By the way, point of order, I feel confident Wilford Brimley was younger than us.
Oh, probably.
Caravan of Courage.
Oh, oof. Yeah, isn't like Mark Hamill is now older than Alec Guinness was.
Yeah,
I think somebody said Will Wheaton is the same age that Patrick Stewart was when he started Next Gen.
Yeah, that's right.
Like 4 or 5 years ago now.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go walk into the sea. It's been nice knowing.
Yeah, me too. I'm gonna go put a shotgun in my mouth. We'll talk to you guys later. It's been real.
Well, that's just went dark.
In Cocoon, Wilford Brimley was like 50.
Ugh.
Remember when he played the old man in Cocoon?
And nobody ever died.
More shockingly, the women of Sex and the City are now older than the Golden Girls were in Golden Girls.
Jesus.
Yeah. So they're like the recent Sex and the City rehash. Like they were like 50, 52, 53.
Yeah.
Golden Girls were like 51, 52.
See, I just always thought the Golden Girls were in their 70s. Like,
no, they're like 50.
Just wow.
Because you're in your teens. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Well, yeah, as a 48-year-old, I can say that 50 is not an old man at all. You know,
obviously.
Right. Yeah. I mean, except that I'm getting a colonoscopy in the next couple months. But
maybe let's have a call to action right now, guys. If you think we all look like old men, comment below and let us know. And
like and subscribe. We got to pay for our medicine somehow.
Smash that like button. Why can't someone just tap the like button? Like, why you guys smash it?
I don't know. People are violent. So, Chris, what came after you were doing toy design, and then you sort of seg into illustration, and you're working for Lucasfilm or with Lucasfilm or subsidiaries thereof?
Working for a bunch of different licensees, different publishers.
And when I met you, I think that's what you were doing, and you did that up until just recently, right? I mean, that was your bread and butter. It was just freelance work, essentially.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, because I think the toy design thing that lasted for a decade, so that was till about 2005, and then went full time doing illustration work. And I would say, man, it was probably 90% Star Wars illustration work, maybe even more. Yeah, and I did a little bit of Halo stuff and a couple other things, but it was largely tech and deep dive nerd stuff for Star Wars, which was awesome.
Okay, so then you worked for yourself essentially as a freelance artist, and you now find yourself segging back into a dedicated company doing the work you love as an employee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's amazing. And I love it. I couldn't have written a better job description for myself for what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
And it's everything I could hope for. The company's amazing. The stuff we're working on is awesome. There's no way that me from 1980 could have fathomed doing what I'm doing now.
Yeah. Yeah.
It really is. I hate saying it. I feel blessed because that's not me, but it is kind of that thing. It's like I everything went right to get me here. All the crazy, like, worked for those guys, didn't get paid, did this, got some stuff, like met these people.
Yeah.
It's all been a crazy path, but there couldn't have been a better prep for what I'm doing now.
Chris, I want to circle back. I want to tie that to an earlier topic. And this is something for the kids. Would you say that had you not done that pro bono stuff, the free work, you wouldn't have gotten to where you are? Like, was that an important step in the process?
It wasn't really an important step in the process. I don't think anybody should ever be working for free.
I agree.
I think that's super critical. It undermines what people do. It undermines what you do. It doesn't give you the self-worth that you deserve. And it doesn't matter if you're a high school kid or a 40-year professional. Your rates are probably different, but you should still be charging for your time. Your work should still be respected. If somebody's coming to you and asking you to do something, don't do it for free.
So you're saying I should charge my nephew for this lightsaber that I'm building for and with him?
That's where I wanted to tie up that thread too, Jason. That's right.
Yeah, I wanted to put a bow on that last one with, and it's all because of the RPF that Chris got to where he is now.
That's right.
Well, I think we talked about it the first time. I mean, the RPF was part of the education in how to think critically about Star Wars stuff and props in the world, and to identify things and problem solve.
Yeah. And
as odd as it sounds, to communicate, because so much of the RPF is about how to not get into a fist fight virtually with someone.
Yeah.
And managing some level of distance from that and staying sane. And I think even doing what I'm doing now, I mean, I feel like I'm in the fans' eyes to some degree, but I've never been worried about saying, "Hey, my name's Chris Reiff. Like, I do this," and fans have always been super respectful of that. At conventions, anytime we're signing autographs for books or whatever it is, and I think there are a lot of people that haven't navigated that as well or as luckily as I have.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think there's a difference though between like processing information and thinking critically and then pontificating. And there are lots of people that are guilty of just letting it all out there and not really processing information.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. The filter mechanism doesn't exist for a lot of people.
I wish it did.
And keeping all that in mind, the RPF also, for me anyway, and I know I could probably confidently say for a lot of other people, probably you guys, it trained me to understand what I truly was excited about, wanting to make, wanting to do. It sort of honed my direction. I mean, I got in, and the models and the spaceships have always been number one. Like when I was 4 or 5, you know, I have like a little thing that I did at school, and it says like, I want to blow up TIE fighters when I grow up, or something like that. And there was like a drawing of a TIE fighter, and you know, so I know I came into it initially wanting to do what I do now, make the miniature replicas or riff off of that kind of thing. And it started with props, mostly because that was so much more easily attainable in 98, 97 when I found everything, because you only had to get, you know, depending on the prop, you know, like 5 or 6 items. And then you have that, it was like demonstrating you can collect these disparate parts with the shared knowledge of everybody, build the thing. 6 months later, somebody figured out the right thing, lather, rinse, repeat, and you're honing it, and you sell the old one to somebody, you know, to fund the new one. So it sort of like got all of my processes in motion that I then recoagulated again and again and again. And, you know, eventually it gave me I don't think I had the confidence to build a Y-Wing from scratch even 10 years ago. Now I think about it and I'm like, oh, I know that thing inside and I could absolutely do that tomorrow. Especially with the 3D tools that I have now, all those things I would have to farm out to somebody with like a lathe or something, or a mill just to get a form done. I can do that. I don't even have to mold or cast anything. I could just grow multiples if I wanted, you know, and then glue all the kit parts down. And the relationships I made, thanks in large part to the RPF, allowed me to like figure out or find out what all the kit parts were. You know, something that I have a horrible like problem with remembering. Like I will ask one of the guys, what part is that from again? They'll tell me, cool, thanks. Yep, I remember you saying that. Run and grab it, pick it, glue it down. A week later, somebody asked me, and I'm like, you know, like it just, I don't keep track of it, which is terrible. But
yeah. Well, and that's the strength of the RPF too, is there's that shared knowledge base.
Yeah.
And the archive of knowledge.
Yeah.
All right, so it now is the goal to get us up to current date with Chris on his journey in the RPF, because I think we're still like, we're maybe at what, 2002 now? Like, what's the?
Yeah, because we need to talk about the books. We need to talk about.
Yeah, we do. So Chris, you are now working freelance for about what you said, a decade or so.
I started working freelance and full time in 2005.
Okay, and so what did you do in those years?
All sorts of craziness. So
you were still very active on the RPF, or
fairly active. Then I've in the years since I've become less active and more monitoring.
Haven't we all?
More just my hobby load has increased, so I have less time.
I was curious about that. Let me double click on that. So like you're sorry, I picked that up at work. I know it's awful. I'm sorry. So tell me a little more about that. Are you consciously withdrawing from the RPF, or are you just like are you being pulled in other directions, or are you kind of like, I need to step away, or like what's going on there?
It's not a conscious like pull withdrawal from the RPF. It's more I feel like all my old friends and kind of the small group that the RPF used to be is so diluted with a whole bunch of new that it's hard to go in. And there are still threads that I watch and follow, but I'm not on there looking for new threads anymore. I figure if something important is happening, somebody's probably going to ping me and tell me, hey, did you see this thread? And then I'll go pay attention. But part of it is just professionally trying to distance myself from some of that stuff and not be as engaged on social media that way. So
you have to balance your online presence with your professional standing. Much more so than like I have to.
Right. Yeah, because Star Wars is work for me.
Right.
So
no, is that a choice?
Prop stuff that interests me it's not all Star Wars, but it's largely Star Wars. So I'm trying to not muddy the waters there.
The thing I've discovered is like, and you guys have both triggered things in my mind. Like, I'm just sort of less interested in people knowing what I do. Like, I want to keep those church and state very separate. Like, I don't want people at work knowing that I'm a total dork, and I don't want people who know I'm a total dork know what I do for work. Like, I like keeping them separate. Like, remember the good old days where like if you got into a fight on the RPF, they'd call your employer?
That happened to me, and my employer was and is still a member of the RPF. And he said, well, that's funny. Like, the guy was like, do you have an employee named Jason Eaton who spends all day on a board on a forum called the Replica Prop Forum? And he was just like, well, that's funny because I see you logged on right now. And the guy was like, click. Fuck you. And the fact that was brought into the real world seems so insane now.
It really does.
Did you ever get
heat? Any of that stuff? Like I never participated in any of the like crazy infighting stuff that was going on there. And
you've never
that
had
was like the separation of church and state thing for me, because there isn't a separation of church and state for me. So I have to be very careful about where each of those touches the other.
But you've never had an internet enemy that you didn't ask for, like just sort of show up one day and you're like, oh, this dude.
Oh, I'm sure I do, but I don't take any of it to heart. And if somebody wants to like be crazy, I'm just gonna enjoy the ride.
Yeah, that's the healthiest way to do it. I mean, that's how you have to operate, unless you want to get sucked into it and waste your time.
Yeah, and I am certainly passionate about my hobbies, and I am all for a good fist fight about accuracy on a prop, especially with someone who's wrong.
Take notes, Jason. Take notes.
Yeah, a spirited debate. Yeah,
but I don't know. It is a hard one to walk away sometimes, but I've gotten better about just ignoring it.
Yeah.
I think that's the best weapon, like online. In real life, not so much. The best weapon you have online is to ignore someone. Like it's really devastating to people who are angry if you just ignore them.
And effective.
Yeah, that's right.
And if you're into being passive aggressive, I'm sure that also pays dividends emotionally. You're like, I'm doing nothing and it's working. You know, like how great is that?
Yeah, letting someone else have the last word is great, because then like you see like when they want to come back and send another note. Are you sure you heard me?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Well, it's sort of one of those, you know, congrats, you won an argument on the internet.
Right.
Good job.
I'm going to use a quick example here of something that's happened because we've been doing these RPF memories chats, and because I've been getting nostalgic for like the prop stuff. I went ahead and am in the process of getting another. I have no hand props. I have a Star Trek communicator. It's a one of those wand company ones, and they just re-released it, and I'm hoping they'll do the phaser, because I kind of like that. Yeah, I'm hoping the phaser gets redone.
Wait, the wand company did the phaser. What are you talking about?
But I never bought one.
Oh, so you're hoping they redo it? Yeah,
I'm hoping they redo it so I don't have to spend like $1,200.
Okay, gotcha. I was
like, I'd like to have the exploration set again. So like the itch is getting scratched again. It's sort of like welled up, and I was like, I need a couple lightsabers in my life. So I'm getting like a Luke A New Hope, an Obi-Wan A New Hope, and a Vader A New Hope, and that'll probably do me. Like, and then like 6 months from now, I've got the V2, I've got the Luke, I've got the Jedi, and then I've got the Luke Jedi reveal. You know, like I know it'll snowball. But
there will be an intervention.
That Ray Saber from Hasbro is awesome.
Which one?
Which one?
Ray Saber.
Yeah.
Ray Skywalker Saber.
Is it? All right.
Yeah. The Dark Saber is pretty cool.
Do you get a commission?
Very cool. There's a Dark Saber sitting over there. Yeah.
Nice.
The Dark Saber re-sparked my interest in sabers. When I saw it, I was like,
So it was weird because you know, we do these talks. I've got these sabers coming. And I got them from Romans. I think they're good. Like, I don't know, like it's like they're, you know, like $300 a pop, and that was fine for me. And he sells them as kits, and I was like, my hands, and he's like, I'll take it across the finish line for you, which I was very grateful for. But then weirdly enough, my nephew, a week ago, I took him out to lunch, and he's 10 years old, and he's like, can we build a lightsaber the next time we hang out? And I was like, oh dude, you are hitting me at the perfect time. Like that just made me so excited. And I went on eBay and I bought a Heelan 2 cell because he's little, you know, and I got like a little like control box, and I got a cool other thing, and I've got some other crap coming, and I'm just gonna lay it all out on a table and say like, what do you want to use and where do you want it? And we'll drill a couple holes, we'll put in a couple screws, and the kid's gonna walk away with a lightsaber. And I'm
love it. It's so great.
I got a D ring, so we can, you know, it's like cover tap or D ring, huh? No, D ring. But
Jason, really, will you be my uncle, please?
Yeah, sure. But it really, like, I felt really nostalgic for like 1997 again, or 98 or 99. Like when you would get this, you'd be like, it's Darth Vader saber, and it's like, well, no, it turned out to be the MPP, but like just everything like came flooding back, like the little thing that comes out and the
bulb release.
Yeah, and like remembering how they're constructed. And these have such a perfect real world feel right out of the gate, you know, and they're chromed and that they're old enough that they've got like a little oxidation in places where you're like, this feels like a relic.
Yeah.
Something. And just design language wise, I mean, this it just by itself, you think that's a lightsaber, you know, like it just.
Yeah, I mean, the Graflex could not have been a better lightsaber.
100%. Yeah.
There's so much like little fine detail and rivets and screw things, and it's just a gorgeous piece on its own. Stick some grips on it and you're golden.
Yeah. And it's I gotta also say, making something for a 10-year-old that isn't a member of the RPF is very freeing, because I'm like, you know, he doesn't care if the T-track has the wrong profile, you know, he's not gonna rip it asunder, and he's gonna be like, that's not the right boot cleat, idiot, you know, or whatever. Like,
because it looks and feels right to him.
Yeah. And I of course went overboard and like I've also got like a light kit thing coming, which I think comes with a blade, and I don't know if I can hack it into there, but if not, we'll just make 2 sabers. You know, like we'll just keep this train barreling down the tracks and see what happens. But that segs into Chris. Have you had something fall by the wayside, like me and hand props, and then nostalgia hits, or just, you know, you're walking down the street and you get bonked on the head and suddenly you're like, I really want to do this again, and you kind of just go like back into it? Have you revisited anything?
Yeah, I think, well, there's a lot of the props that got me into it never got finished and kind of stuck around as unfinished projects, which I know everyone can relate to that, but I've been trying to be more diligent about actually finishing projects.
Yeah. And
I think we talked about the Han Blaster. There's Stormtrooper Blaster here. And
oh God, see now, I'm gonna end up
trigger warning.
Like,
hashtag TW.
Is the Field Marshal one good? I guess. Like,
yeah, Field Marshal stuff is awesome.
Yeah, I'll probably get one of those.
Yeah. So there was stuff. I mean, I had a Master Replica's Han Blaster at one point.
Yeah.
And it was nice, but I knew even when I got that thing that there were problems with it. So I tried to talk myself into keeping it, but never did, and eventually ended up with all the real part stuff. And
we tried our best, Chris.
Is this a personal attack on Jason?
It was built with the knowledge that was available at the time.
Yeah,
exactly.
I didn't do much with that particular project. No, but
I got to tell you, it's one of my favorite parts about this hobby is that it's just constantly evolving. There's new, like, I think we talked about this on my one. It's just like there's just always new stuff coming to light, and there's like mind-blowing moments where you're like, wow, it's been right there all this time, or whatever. I think it's fascinating. I think it's cool.
Right. Well, in so many ways, a Han Blaster that's put together and looks kind of like a Han Blaster was way better than any Han Blaster I ever had for a long time.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
It was a finished project for so many people, and I never got around to finishing it.
Like, remember when
it's my baby.
I still think we should have Boba Fett on this thing.
Yeah, the Boba Fett active project.
Like for 10 years at least, Boba Fett's was the high water mark on the Han Solo blaster.
I built one in 2002, and I think like the scope mount, or you know, the rings, I think that was cast metal at one
Might have been.
Yeah.
But I mean, it was metal.
Yeah, right.
Oh my God. It was so cool.
It was hefty. It felt right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And it was.
That stuff, that's kind of the stuff that went by the wayside for me, were projects that never got finished, or I was never quite happy with things the way they were and wanted to find out more detail. And I get the whole perfection's the enemy of completion thing. I'm super paralyzed by that a lot of times, and I've been trying to work past it.
Yeah, I knew a guy that was working on a Rocketeer pack, and he got hung up on, it was an Acme pack, and he got hung up on these little like half moon fins that you had to
exactly the part you're talking about.
And he's like, I don't know how to put these on. so that they won't like snap off. I was like, well, it would be a pain in the ass, but you could pin them with like thin brass pin. He goes, yeah, but I mean, like, I still feel like they could snap off. And I'm like, they could be cast integrally with that part and they could still snap off, dude. Like, nothing's going to stop it from snapping off if you bang it into a door jamb or something.
Yeah.
And I bet he never finished that.
Interesting.
He got, and it was like a weird life lesson for me. That and another guy who was like one of the oldest studio scale guys. He had a Y-wing that was all original parts except for like 3 or 4 pieces because they hadn't been identified. I think they have been now, and he just could never finish it.
Sure.
And I remember thinking, like, I would just glue down shit that looks close at this point, because we're talking little, like, there was a debate on whether a curved pipe was actually just a piece of bent rod or not, and he was hell-bent convinced it was from a kit. It actually is from a kit, but you could take a piece of evergreen or plastruck and be done, and just be fucking done and move on with your life. But like, I find myself buying things now. Like, I got this, and I think Shapeways probably printed it for the guy. And it's just a bunch of parts ganged together for Han and Carbonite panels, right? And I think a lot of it is best guess. Like, these are the sliders from that mixer.
Yeah.
But this piece is, I think on the original, it's like machined or whatever. It's metal, and this isn't right. And the thing that I love so much, and there's some knurled knobs. The thing I love so much about technology now is I can just measure the space on that Volvo panel that I have, a copy of. A guy made injection plastic.
Yeah, that guy's so great.
It's Todd Blatt. He's local. He lives in Baltimore.
Tell him I respect him tremendously if you see him.
He's incredible. He's incredible. And yeah, not knocking him, because a lot of this stuff is great, but I noticed this one part is like best guess, and I guess maybe he just didn't have as great a photo at the time. And I think he gives these away now. Anyway, but now that I know 3D software and have a 3D printer in my house, I have a couple, I can model this thing in an afternoon and send it to the printer, and I'll have the part. And that literally could not have happened in the RPF heyday. That would have been voodoo witchcraft, weird, like pie in the sky stuff. Or you knew somebody that had like a $30,000 or $60,000
an SLA
printer at work, and the resolution would have been horrible, and it wouldn't have done what you wanted it to do. Like, holy shit. So, like, technology has freed us so much with the replication stuff, unless you're hell-bent on getting the original part. And Chris, like, is this part identified even?
I can't tell from this screen what that.
Yeah, it's just like this thing that's I'll show you offline afterwards.
Yeah, it might be.
He's probably got 5 under his desk in a
right.
Well, I don't have a Han and Carbonite box.
Yeah. Well, like, so in Jedi, there's that like viewfinder thing off of a camera that like flips open when she thaws him out, when Leia thaws Han out, and I bought one. Like, I spent like $200 to buy this camera part and strip it to use the one piece I had, because I wanted it to flip open, and the resin replica, was static. And I'm like, this is crazy. Like, I'm still doing weird, crazy stuff. Like, but I wanted the play action of being able to like close the thing and push the button and have it spring open with a couple lights, doing their dumb thing.
That's where it's at, man. I applaud this decision.
Yeah. But like, I'm like, I guess it's never going to go away. Like, I'll be doing this nonsense until I'm in the ground, I think.
Well, okay, so here's a question, and let me start with my answer. It brings me a degree of misery. Like, I get real wrapped around the axle on not finishing projects because I'm so obsessed with being perfect. Like, does it bring you misery being obsessed with something to that degree, or are you just kind of you're like, this is great, I'm a lunatic, and that's cool?
I mean,
I think each of us should answer that.
Yeah, I'm too easily distracted by the next unfinished project
to worry about it.
Yeah, I'm like, I can't figure that one out. I'll go over here and finish this one. No, I can't finish that. I'll go on to the next.
Yeah.
Brian?
It doesn't drive me crazy. There's, you know what? No, there are some things that I've selected to allow me to be driven absolutely crazy, and we'll go to
arbitrarily or subject wise.
No, it's completely arbitrary, where I just like latch onto something and won't let it go.
Like what? Like R2? Ghostbusters? Proton Pack?
Yes, except I intentionally, like, I totally am riffing on the new one. I mean, there are some things that I'm doing that are true, but I'm calling it a legacy pack because there are elements of each pack that I'm like, no, I want this, and I want this exactly right.
Well, it's your pack.
So because it's my pack, right?
Right.
So am I trying to replicate something on screen? No, but there are specific aspects of the pack that I will not let go until it's absolutely right to me.
Yeah, I think we talked about that in regard to the Han blaster. That, like mine, I'm not building Han's blaster. I'm not trying to fake anybody out and do a replica for fraudulent reasons. I'm trying to make the blaster that came up next on the assembly line.
Yeah,
that's just like this.
There's big money in that, by the way. You might want to reconsider your.
Yeah. Tom Spina touched on this on the talk that we had about weathering, and it's in the spirit of the item. You can't organically re-weather something twice, but you can certainly do it in the spirit of how the original was done. And I'm going to answer that question. When I started this, yes, everything had to be stupid perfect, which is such a moving target that you're never going to hit, because the items that we choose to replicate change and grow as they decay or modified. So you kind of have to pick a moment in time and hope that other photo reference you have is from that same afternoon, because those things change so much. So that was miserable. Yes. And I fretted and hemmed and hawed over so much, and mostly with models, like, I got to get this glass mark right. I got to get da. What freed me from that was mostly getting to know the guys that made the originals, who were like, no one cares. Like they're like, we don't care. Why do you care? And I was like, wow, why do I care? If Bill or Lauren are like, you're nuts, like, just build the stupid thing, dude. Like, part falls off, glue something else on it, looks cool, you're done. And I'm like, well, that's nuts. But like, it did free me. I'm like, yeah, why am I like being obsessive about this? Like, who am I trying to please, myself or the literally 5 guys out there that are going to take umbrage, like, that I'm not even friends with, really? That
the guy who's still trying to finish his Y-wing.
Yeah. And like, so like the X-Wing is a perfect example. Like, the X-Wing that I'm building now, that's on YouTube, like, I'm doing the build diary. There's a shout out to that. It's nonsense.
Link in description.
But yeah, like, it was born out of getting the original dimensions and wanting to faithfully recreate that. And then I thought, well, it would be a shame, now that we have all this 3D power, to not just double scale it and make like a 12th scale X-Wing. And that was mostly born out of having the Bondi R2 and R5, and like, I should build an X-Wing around this thing. Like, so stupid. And Salzo was like, you did that because you got the Bondi R2, didn't you? And it was like, yeah.
Well, that's why he built that Y-Wing, right?
That's why he built that Y-Wing. I mean, we laughed about that. It's so funny. But like, and then I thought, okay, well, I should detail out the R2's little bay, like his little socket. And then I thought, okay, well, if I make this 12th scale, anytime somebody doubles something in size, if they don't up detail, it looks cartoonish and toy-like. Like, you look at that large scale X-Wing they made for Jedi and they didn't use, it's got a whole bunch of extra crap on it. And then I was like, okay, that tickles I don't have to be specific to anything. I can riff, I can make stuff up, bone. Because like, I just making the concept art models and like adding extra things to models is what is mostly gratifying to me these days. So it's like, let's up detail this stuff. And then I realized the printers are so sharp and powerful now that up detailed, all that extra zhuzh that I put on the butt plate works in 1/24th scale. So now I'm making a studio scale X-Wing that has extra crap on it. Like just, you can zoom in with like your bifocals and see little wiring and stuff that's not at all on the originals. And now it's so far removed from accurate that like I also feel like there's no target on my back because no one can judge it against anything else, which is I find amusing. But it's I gotta say to the people out there that are like keeping themselves up at night because they don't know if the thumbprint on their FET helmet is right, let it go. Indiana, let it go. Like,
Yeah.
just
Well, I think what you're doing with the X-Wing, it's building it for what it's being used for now.
yeah.
And originally they were built to like zoom by and a blurry shot on screen. That's it. They didn't need to have all that detail on it. But now if it's sitting on a stand on a case in somebody's coffee table, they're getting in there with bifocals and looking at it. And that extra level of detail brings that level of reality to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Bringing in the filming set to the cockpit was exactly that. Yeah. We just like, how can we not? Back in the Master Replica, I'm sure you encountered this with licensed companies. Like back in the MR days, you know, we scan the FET helmet. Well, not the FET helmet. I'll never live that down. But like, it's asymmetrical and wonky. And then you throw it into Pro-E. You know, Chris Reiff, I think, was the guy that drew that one up digitally. And then there's the debate: do we make it symmetrical? Because if we don't make it symmetrical, we please 30 guys out there. You know.
Yeah, we did that.
Then everybody complains that their helmet's warped.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like it's a weird balancing act a lot of the time.
Yeah. We did that on the Regrettable helmets.
Yeah.
And Stormtrooper is famously lopsided.
Yeah.
And symmetrical. And we were lucky enough. Don Post was super helpful when we were working on that stuff back in the day and sent us fiberglass castings off of originals. And that's back in the day when Don would he would go to the archives and they'd give him a Stormtrooper costume to drive away with.
Madness.
When was the first time you went to the archives? How long ago was that? Do you remember?
That would be 96.
So was Don still running it?
No.
Okay.
Don was recently removed from it, I think.
Okay. But
or not removed, but
like had gone on.
Yeah.
Right, because he ended up working special edition stuff.
Yeah.
It was much more Wild West than it is now, I would imagine, vibe-wise in there, right? And like a lot more cacophonous just in terms of everything being cataloged because there was just so much stuff. I mean,
stuff wasn't. I don't think stuff was really cataloged. There was just a bunch of stuff on shelves.
Yeah.
Maybe the early days of cataloging it because it was. They were really treating it as an archive at that point, but it was still much smaller. It was half the building it is now. And,
Here's a question. Do you feel jaded at all? Do you feel like you've been doing this professionally so long and that you've seen and done so much what to normal people would feel insane things that like is the bloom off the rose, is the shine off the apple, like are you like ho hum, another screen used item in my hand, or is it still like the screaming fan watching the Beatles like arrive at the airport through the chain link fence?
I would say my reactions are more measured at the time, but the voice inside me is still screaming.
Okay, cool.
So
that's awesome.
That's good.
I mean, you don't walk into the archives and not turn into a kid. And
one does not simply walk into the archives and be
period. I was like,
the Magic of Myth exhibit was the closest, like that sort of scratched the itch. Seeing all that stuff, I was like, at the time, I was like, I've seen everything I need to see. This is it. This is great.
I have a DVD you made of a video of that, like on High 8 or something.
Yeah, it's like a VCD or something.
Yeah. And that was gold.
Yeah, it was super fun. Then that was like the first time that stuff was all in the public eye, especially that amount. Yeah. And me being a Star Wars kid, like seeing all that stuff, and they had everything.
Was that Art of Star Wars or Magic of Myth? I saw
Art of Star Wars.
Yeah, I saw Magic of Myth at the Smithsonian. You saw Art of Star Wars, which was more like punk rock, the way a lot of stuff was displayed.
It was the one where stuff was up on scaffolding, like droids.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And like the Cantwell stuff was just like in a dust cover, like hanging on the wall.
Like half of my video is security people yelling at me saying, please don't touch the thing, don't cross the, don't like. I was getting my camera right up into because it was like what's the big
velvet
scale
rope separating you from the prop?
Yeah, like the large scale Millennium Falcon was just like on a table, and there's like scary, please don't, sir, and I'm like, it was really good.
Yeah, even in '97 at the Smithsonian, they had everything behind glass. I don't
not when they were setting it up.
Oh,
I went there to measure the Bausch helmet or Boosh. How do you guys say that character's
I
name?
say Bausch.
I say Bosch.
Oh, Bosch.
Like that TV show.
Like the German car parts manufacturer.
Yeah.
I say Bausch.
I say Bausch as well.
I guess they don't ever. It has a U in it, so I guess it should be Bausch.
AT-AT or AT-AT?
AT-AT. Please.
But then I say AT-AT. I don't go at.
Look at Brian's disapproval.
What are you trying to be, Dave Filoni, saying AT-AT?
Oh,
Come
does
on,
he do that?
There's only one Dave Filoni.
It's AT-AT and ATS.
I'm calling him out.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, Magic and Myth, like what I was saying, I went out there while they were building the setup for it to measure the Bausch helmet for Riddell stuff, and they locked me in a plywood closet in the corner of that display area with all the props and the original Bausch costume, and came back 3 hours later to get me. It was awesome.
Were you like slowly taking it off, like?
You're like,
the door.
Sorry.
Someone who loves you, or whatever.
That was a crazy trip.
Is the helmet
so
small?
Cool.
It's
Yeah.
it's tiny.
What's your advice for RPFers? What would you do differently if you do that, like all that sort of, or does it not matter?
No, I don't think.
I'm super curious. I'm always curious. Like if you could give. Like if you could write a sticky thread that said, here's my advice to all kids new to the RPF. Well, I mean, aside from don't argue with people.
Well, yeah. Step 1, don't be a dick.
Solid.
Step 2, go in assuming you're wrong.
Oh, interesting.
If you assume you're right, you're never going to learn anything. If you assume you're wrong, you'll be much more open to the discussion and will evolve your skills and your hobby much better.
Can we tell that to everybody on Facebook also?
Yeah, Jesus.
I know. I just assume everyone on Facebook is wrong. So
these are more life hacks than RPF tips. But go ahead. This is
good
stuff.
I think they're very specific to the RPF, because the people that are the impediments to the hobby on the RPF are the people who are always right.
Wow.
Damn, write that down, Eaton. That is the highly quotable.
New signature line, everybody.
Yeah. No, that's very insightful. Okay, sorry. Go. Continue. Sorry. I'm rambling.
What else? I think share is a big thing for the RPF. Back in the heyday, there weren't people compartmentalizing info. It was, hey, like I found this at the drugstore. Like, is this it? And
yeah,
the conversation and the energy builds much more when people are sharing. And maybe you don't pay 2 cents for something. Maybe you pay $2 for something later, but maybe 6,000 of them get found instead of 2.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. And
would you say that more people hoard the information for prestige or for money reasons?
I think it's neither. I think it's more about making sure you get the parts, because and I guess that ties to money reasons, because if the way the hobby has gone, the original prop stuff, it's absurd. I mean, I don't know if you guys have been watching what original parts to build an Obi-Wan saber are going for, but I mean, that's a $10,000 saber to put that thing together.
Yeah.
And I think the fear that hey, if I share this info, I'm never going to be able to get one for myself is a very real thing.
Yeah.
So,
well, wait,
I have to spend $5,000.
That's contradictory from your earlier statement. I'm hearing mixed messages, Chris.
Well, I think that's what is happening. I don't think that's the way it should be. I think share the data.
Okay.
I shared a part ID, a model kit ID with somebody last year, 2 years ago, and I didn't specifically tell him, hey, don't say anything to anybody, and it's my fault for giving him the info without sort of Googling what this tank kit goes for. And he told a guy who told a guy, and now the kit's like $400 or $500 because it's the vintage tooling, and I never got one. So I was like, I done did it to myself.
Can he be the recipient of the first fuck that guy for this video?
No, I'm not mad. I'm like, all right, well, I mean, like, a guy was very cool and bought one for like $400 or $500, molded and cast the part and sold it for $50 a pop to make some of his nut back. And I bought one, so at least I've got it in resin. And it's a part for the sand crawler, and it doesn't have to be. It would be nice if it was styrene.
The one time you remembered a rare part, by the way, I'm giving you a hard time.
Yeah, no, I mean, what happened was I was given a photograph where someone put a camera inside the sand crawler and went and took a picture of the inside roof, which told us what that base part truly was. And I very excitedly shared it with the guy who's making a sand crawler because I thought you could use that info. And I don't think he bought one before telling the other guy either. So, or maybe he did. Anyway, the funny part about that is there were two of the vintage kit that just sold on eBay today, two for under $200, and I was hiking and missed it. And I had bid up to $81 just to placehold it. So, I just literally had a opportunity to get a couple of them. I was just being miserly and in the woods.
Well, I think that's one of those things where at least it's known and getting into hands of people in the hobby.
And it's being used.
And it's being used, yeah.
Hopefully
someone, I mean, like you said, someone made resin copies of it, so at least that's happening.
Yeah.
Which, yeah,
I'm fine.
I think it'll ultimately settle out. There's the kind of crazy buying frenzy at the beginning of all this stuff. I mean,
yeah.
How expensive did boots with studs on the bottom of them get there for a minute?
That's right.
The last time I was at Prop Store, Brandon let me hold that saber, and it was before that ID was made, and he's like, what do you think this is? And it was, no one had even seen it.
Oh man,
before he had shared a picture at Celebration or wherever he was when he unveiled like a photo of it. He's like, what do you think that part is? And I was like, I surmised it was like a decorative cleat from like furniture or something, like studs on like a settee or something like that. And he's like, it's good thought. He didn't know, but I was just like, or it's just a hunk of metal that somebody crudely scored and just stuck
what
it.
It looks like, yeah,
it's like the scope front from the Return of the Jedi scopes. It's just a screw with marks filed in it.
Really?
Yeah,
that's fantastic.
Yeah, that thing that looks like, I think people were using like ceiling grid stuff to do the front. It's actually just a brass screw with file marks cut crossways in it.
Wow. Hey, it worked.
And it's screwed into like a brass beveled washer that goes through the front of an adjustment knob cover from a scope.
No kidding.
Or by like from one of these little covers here.
Yeah.
What is that? Is that a bunch of scopes together? Bowcast.
Is that Chewbacca's? What is that?
Yep. Yeah. Matt and I were
yeah.
That's cool.
Do you have the crossbow or whatever that thing is?
I've got somebody's version of it over here with an aluminum bow and stuff, and I 3D'd up all the modification parts, but now Field Marshal's making one. So
the little balls on the end were like, somebody thought they were like rack or squash balls or something. No shit. Is that really what they used?
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
That's insane.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, you can actually, on the real prop, you can see the seam line.
Okay.
I'm loading them.
Wow.
I kind of want to play What's on Chris's desk. Like every time he's like, "Oh, I reaches over, grab something, and
show something else." Wow us.
Lego Blaster. That's great.
Yeah. Jason's one of the precious few who has a copy of this thing.
That's so good. Man, that's clean too. What is it? Is that injection molded? What is that?
This is a solid hunk of CNC milled ABS.
Is that what mine is? No,
yours is a rotocast of this.
Yeah.
Oh,
okay.
so that's your pattern. Okay, that's beautiful.
That really is.
That's great.
Yeah, I've got your Han blaster too. That I think.
All right, did I say Lego?
Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, the Han blast. I did the Han blaster. I've got the Leia one modeled.
But
What's happening?
But that's so weird talking about the RPF, and suddenly I'm like wanting to get some of this stuff again. Damn it!
I don't like it. Not good.
The real stuff. I mean, there's nothing quite like the tactile holding a blaster in your hand. It's
yeah.
I mean, it's been a while. I pulled this thing out before our call today, and it's been a while since I did. It's a beast, but man, there's nothing quite like with it.
Is that an actual like demilled?
Yeah.
Nice.
You know, Jason, I'd love to do a whole episode on why moving triggers are important to some people.
Oh my God, totally. And they really are. Like
I've literally sat up a night going, why?
Yeah.
Why do you care if the trigger moves?
My Blade Runner gun, where both triggers move.
Yeah.
You know, like,
well, that's a prop I wish I had. I guess there are two props
mine's over.
My missing children that I've never finished: the Blade Runner blaster and the pulse rifle.
Yeah,
pulse rifle's nice. I got in the pre-order for the Nerf one. I think that might scratch my itch enough. I like the Blade Runner blaster. That was something like since I was a kid. Like I saw Blade Runner in theaters, and I was like, that gun's awesome. I want one day.
Yeah,
and that like the Tomenosuke, that scratches that itch for me. I'm like, I'm done with that. But the that's nice. Yeah.
Yeah, so like it's not the Hellboy Samaritan, it's the
no, Samaritan doesn't do it for me. It's a beautiful design, beautifully built gun. It just doesn't.
Okay, real quick. Tell everybody, say a prop that you bought in like the fever of the time that you like look back on embarrassingly, like you're embarrassed about now. And I'll go first. I bought that big Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy resin thing. I don't even remember what it's called. I just remember, and I don't even remember, NECA maybe made them. I can't remember who made them.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
They were like solid resin, and they were like $300, and I bought it because like it was a prop from a movie that I didn't dislike, but I have no real emotional connection. I like the novels, but like that movie didn't like. I think I saw it once, you know, and like I bought that thing and I had it for like a year, and then I was like, what the fuck was I thinking? And somebody wanted to buy it, and I was like, thank God. Anybody else having something they want to admit?
I'm not sure.
I'll tell you.
Go ahead, Brian. Sorry.
No, I'll tell you a Star Wars one. It was a Larbell, because you mentioned Larbell, Matt. And it's like, I was so proud to own Episode 1 Mace Windu lightsaber from Larbell, right? Again, poor college student. And suddenly I had this thing and I was like, oh, this is the most amazing thing. And someone near and dear to me walked into my room and saw it displayed and thought it was a vibrator. And let me just say, it got sold soon after that. It just, I couldn't look at it the same way. And it wasn't, so it's not even one of those things that I regretted getting, but all of a sudden I was looking at going, oh my gosh, this is a intimate adult product, not a prop anymore. So it's gone. Yeah, so that's my story. That and proof that Tony Stark had a heart. I was infatuated with the maker of the prop that ended up building it for me, and not the prop itself. And I got it. I admired the craftsmanship, and I was like, what the heck am I doing with this thing?
Yeah.
I'm not a Marvel prop collector, and I couldn't understand why I had it. It too got sold.
Matt?
Gosh, I there's one that comes to mind, even though like you just asked an entire category of my collection. Like I have a mountain of things where I was just wrapped up in the moment. I was like, that looks cool. I want that. And then I'd get it and I'm like, I don't think I've even seen this movie. But a big one for me that was actually a defining moment in my journey in the hobby was I bought a really expensive and really terrible casting of a C-3PO suit. And this was right after I finished my R2-D2. And R2-D2, I don't know if you guys will really understand this, but that's something I was very passionate about. You guys probably won't understand what that's like for R2. But like literally, like the first time I saw A New Hope, the first thing I saw on screen was R2-D2. And I was like, I want it. Eventually got it. And then I was like, a perfect companion for this would be C-3PO. So I got this suit. I think it was like $3,000. And it arrived and it was not in good condition. The mold, whoever made the mold did not make a good mold. Whoever did the casting.
Was the casting of the touring suit? Is that what it was? Because that was popular for a while. Okay.
I believe so. If you want to edit it out.
Was it like fiberglass from South America or something?
I want to say it was an HMS kit. Like they had a hand in it. But who knows? It could have been, maybe I remember. So I got it and I looked at it and I was like, this is going to be years of work to get it to the point where I'm happy with it. And then it kind of dawned on me, I'm like, I don't really care about C-3PO. Like it's just not like R2-D2. Yes. Like just because he was in the movie doesn't make it interesting to me. And for me, like when I go to the RPF, I just see thread after thread where that's the impetus. It was in the movie, therefore let's build it. Let's make it. And I don't think anyone really cares about that one thing, but because Peter Parker wore those socks in that one scene, let's track them down and I'll buy 5 pairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, C-3PO, I would say that 3PO casting was mine and I sold it at a profit. All right, Chris, over to you, sir.
I'm trying to think of something that I got rid of like that. I honestly can't think of anything. I tried to be very careful about it being focused on Star Wars stuff. And the occasional like stupid thing like a Fifth Element key.
I think I have one on there, yeah.
It's actually still in the cabinet. I was playing with it today. But no, I think because so much of what I did was focused on real parts and building stuff from real parts, it made it easier to not fall into the trap of some of those other projects.
Nice.
I too had a C-3PO suit that I also sold, but it was sold out of the decision to reprioritize my hobbies and focus. I had already built my droid. I'm not of the frame that will ever fit in the 3PO suit. And
yeah.
I had a 3PO suit and I sold it for that same reason. I was like,
Brian, you in on this? Brian, you ever had a 3PO suit and sold it?
I wore a 3PO suit and no, I did not have a 3PO suit.
Was it that one from Halloween in the 70s where it had a picture of C-3PO on the
right.
chip?
This is a big plastic.
Yeah, it was just a vacuum form mask.
With a little mask that cut your
there, bro.
Yeah.
No shame.
Yeah.
Chris, I'm curious. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say mine was, I think it was fiberglass, and I feel like it came from South America or something, and I don't know the provenance. It wasn't golden armor, and it was good. It was nice. I don't know if it was accurate, but it was just so much, like you said, so much work. And the two things that I was hung up on that made me think, if I just get rid of this and make my money back, I don't have to worry about solving these problems. And that was a nice display mannequin that I liked, and finding somebody to, metalize it, chrome it, or whatever. It was like, fuck, no. And it had to be dirty Tatooine A New Hope. I didn't want to cheat and do the Jedi route with spray paint or whatever.
And thankfully now the chroming is much easier and more obtainable.
For sure, yeah. Like I know 2 outfits off the top of my head in LA. Yeah.
Because you don't have to actually vac metal it now. It's the Kodachrome stuff where the silver spray stuff.
Oh, so those big Tomy robots that I made, I could get those done in chrome, like relatively painlessly.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Yeah, it's a spray. It's not a spray paint, but it's that sort of thing. It's
like a Lumiluster, the 2-part that they use. People are using on Mandalorian helmets.
Do I have to prep the part and make it glass smooth?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, but you're like you do on the back of a mirror, is silvering the back of a piece of glass. You're doing the same thing, but on the surface, and then you seal it with a clear coat. So.
Cool.
Did you guys tackle unattained holy grails last video with Chris?
I don't think we did.
Chris,
The,
is there?
I
Is
think
there?
I just said the pulse rifle and the Blade Runner blaster. Are my
Oh, those.
favorite.
Oh, that's your. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, those are attainable. Why don't you get those? Or you want to do like real parts? Like, what's the?
I want to do a real parts. Well, the pulse rifle I'd like to do out of metal parts. The spas cage and the handle. Those are the two big ones. If I could get those, I've got Thompson parts around. I don't know if anybody is even making good pulse rifle stuff anymore.
Yeah.
There was that airsoft one that happened. It was pretty nice, but
Yeah, it looks beautiful. Those are still available. They're like $600 or something. They look really nice.
yeah.
I had a Hollywood Collectibles one that's just static resin, and that looked fine from like 2 feet away. You know, like you pick it up and you're like, oh, but
I've never met an HCG product I was happy with.
Yeah. They wanted me to, I did the power loader for them, and that was fine. That was fun. And then they wanted me to do the Nostromo and something else. And I was like, well, here's my hourly rate or whatever. And they're like, oh, we just wanted to give you a couple unpainted copies. And I was like, you're like 15 years too late for me accepting that. I'm sorry, dude.
Are they still in business?
I think so.
Like last time, their product spread was really odd. Like they didn't seem to know what they were doing as a company. And I was like,
yeah. But is there anything that we want to ask? Like, Chris, is there anything that we need to touch base on, or are we doing a part 3, baby?
I don't know. We got all the way up to 2002.
I feel like we could do a part 3.
Well, he doesn't want to like talk about his recent shit, man.
Yeah, but, it's just weird. I don't know that I can.
No, it's fine.
No.
I wouldn't ask you to ever do anything untoward. Yeah.
Chris, by the way, I like your Instagram. Brian, I like your Instagram too. Jason, you already know I like yours.
Oh,
good stuff.
Thank you.
It's a good mix. Brian, yours is good because it's like, here's a picture of my dog. Here's some alcohol. Here's a Ghostbusters thing.
It's like you're there in the driver's seat.
Relevant to my interests. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Yeah.
Dogs, props, backyard. That's it. And booze.
And babes.
And charcuterie.
That's right.
And that house across the street.
Yeah.
The Amazon Prime box that's across the street from me. Yeah.
That's compelling content, man. It's good stuff.
Yeah, for real. All right, so we wrapping it up then?
Yeah.
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
I've got a prop question for you guys though, just real quick.
Ooh.
I mean, we can stop recording. I just want to know if any of you have ever done a Rocketeer pack, because I'm wanting to do one. I've got a friend printing one from what's his name, VP's files.
Oh, cool.
Have you?
I had an Acme pack with the flaps, and I even had, God, I might still have a mock-up of the harness that Clint had commissioned, or maybe Mike Scott had made or something. I can't even remember. But I earnestly wanted a Boba Fett pack and a Rocketeer pack, and I had the Rocketeer pack kit, and I just lost. I had to reprioritize, and I sold it off. And then I thought, well, I'll scratch that itch with the Novos, and I don't have my pack. Yeah.
Chris, are you looking for parts? Are you looking for reference or discussion or what?
Just discussion in general. I mean,
there are 2 very nice threads on the RPF right now about Rocketeer pack builds, and it's another great example of this thread could not have happened 20 years ago. Like the commitment to it, the resources available, the techniques of it's mind blowing. Seeing the work these guys. One guy's doing a 3D model from the ground up that I think he's offering it for free.
That's VP. That's the one I'm having printed. And
yeah, it looks beautiful.
Yeah, it's dead on, and it kind of scratches the right place for me where it's a perfect version of it where the rivets aren't asymmetrical and weird.
Yeah.
It looks like a real machine or a real part. So
yeah. And there's another dude who's like English wheeling parts to it. And I'm just like, what? Like, yeah. It's a sight to behold if you haven't seen that thread yet.
I haven't seen the thread. I know there's a guy that posts in some of the Rocketeer groups on Facebook that I've seen his all metal packs.
Yeah.
I think it's like $5,000 for the thing.
Oh, that's right. He sells them. Yeah.
So cool.
I'd love to get in touch with him. He uses a lot of pop rivets. which I'm not a big fan of.
That's yeah. Okay. You
But
can write
I'd love to
column.
get a set of parts from him and then put it together with real airplane rivets and do that. And have a
I
real
suspect
metal.
he'd be amenable to that. I don't have the thread handy, but go check it out. It's like at least on the first couple pages, I think. It's a fairly fresh thread.
God, that would be cool. Yeah. So want to thank Chris for spending time with us. I want to thank Matt and Brian also for sharing a couple hours today. I don't know the runtime of this, but we've been talking for 7 hours. So whatever it ends up being,
It's actually the next day. This sunlight you're seeing, that's the next day of sunshine.
There's so much stuff we dished out that I'm going to have to excise. I apologize. But no, thank you, Chris, for taking us down a little more of your memory lane. And we will see you guys again next time. Like and subscribe and go check out everybody's Instas and listen to whatever music you like to listen to. I don't know. Okay. Bye.
Bye, guys.
Everybody say bye.
Bye.
Pew, pew.
All right, now let's talk some shit.
We're
Hold on,
totally ending it with that.
Fuck that guy. Fuck that guy.
Hold on. Let me make you're up there.
Yeah, we should probably edit most of this out.
Okay.
All right.